Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. Today we're tackling a question that I think is on a lot of people's minds these days, and that is college still worth it?
Yeah, it's a big one. It feels like it's been in the news more and more recently, especially with,
Yeah,
costs going up and people kind of questioning that whole return on investment.
right. And it's so much harder, I think, to figure out what that return on investment is when you're talking about something like education as opposed to, like a financial investment or something very concrete.
Yeah, you can't really put a dollar figure on everything you gain from going to college.
Right, exactly. So to really get into this, we're diving into the is college a scam
Yeah.
debate, which I thought did a pretty good job of laying out both sides of the argument.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was a good back and forth and got me thinking about some things I hadn't really considered before.
For sure. So let's start with the scam side of things, right? They really hit hard with those student loan statistics. I mean, the average debt for a college grad is over $37,000.
Yeah, it's a scary number. And when you consider that wages haven't exactly kept pace with the rising cost of tuition, it's no wonder people are starting to question if it's all worth it.
Exactly. And they had this story about Sarah, who graduated with a psych degree, ended up working as a barista, and was saddled with like $80,000 in debt.
Oof. Yeah, that's a tough situation. And I think it highlights the potential mismatch that can happen between what you study in college and the actual job market.
Yeah, you don't always get that like straight line from degree to dream job, like we're sometimes led to believe.
Right. And especially in fields like psychology or, even the humanities where the career paths can be less defined, it really raises questions about that financial return on investment.
Which makes me wonder, I mean, even though statistically college grads do earn more on average, how much of that difference is eaten up by those loan payments?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
You have to factor in that debt when you're calculating the overall financial benefit.
And then there's the whole argument about like soft skills, right? Like college is supposed to teach you things like critical thinking and teamwork, but is that really something you can only learn in a classroom?
I think that's where things get really nuanced. It's not that those skills aren't important, but it's more about whether college is the only or even the best place to develop them.
Right. You could argue that, starting your own business or even just like navigating life throws all sorts of challenges at you that force you to think critically and work with other people.
Exactly. There are definitely alternative paths to developing those skills, and I think that's a big part of what this whole debate is about, rethinking what we consider education and where it can take place.
It's like expanding the definition, right? But let's not forget, there's a whole other side to this conversation. There are some very real benefits to going to college that go beyond just the financial aspect. I mean, like, let's be real. There are certain careers where a degree is pretty much non-negotiable, right? Like, you're not going to become a doctor or a lawyer by just watching YouTube videos.
Exactly. Some fields have very specific educational requirements, and college is still the most established path to get there.
Right. It's like gatekeepers for certain professions. And then you have to think about, like for first generation college students, especially, a degree can represent upward mobility, a way to break out of, cycles of poverty.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be a game changer in that sense.
And even beyond those like super specific career paths, there's something to be said for that experience of like immersing yourself in a subject you're passionate about, right? Like college can offer that deep dive, that chance to really explore ideas.
Yeah, you get to connect with other people who are interested in the same things you are.
Yeah.
You have those late night debates in the dorms. It's a unique environment for that kind of intellectual exploration.
And it's not just about the classes themselves, right? Like you're learning how to learn, you're developing those research and critical thinking skills that are going to serve you well no matter what you end up doing.
Totally.
Right.
And the networking opportunities are huge too. You're meeting people from all different backgrounds, forming connections that could lead to, job opportunities down the line or even just lifelong friendships.
Yeah, you can't really put a price tag on that kind of network.
Right, it's invaluable.
Yeah.
And I think we often focus so much on those hard skills, the technical knowledge, but those soft skills like communication, collaboration, even just like time management, those are things you use in every aspect of life.
Oh, absolutely. Those are the things that employers are always looking for too. They want people who can work well on a team, who can communicate effectively.
Exactly. So even if you don't end up in a career that directly relates to your major situating, those soft skills you develop in college are still going to be super valuable.
Okay. So we've talked about the financial burden, the potential for debt, but even people who are pro-college acknowledge that the system isn't perfect, right?
Yeah, I think that's an important point to make. The cost of tuition is a huge barrier for a lot of people. And the way we measure learning, with standardized tests and grades, it doesn't always capture the full picture of what someone's actually capable of.
So is it more about like reforming the existing system or maybe looking at alternative models altogether?
That's where things get really interesting, I think. We're starting to see a shift away from this idea that everyone needs a four-year degree. There are so many other paths to success now.
Right, and the debate highlighted some pretty big names, Steve Jobs, Oprah, Elon Musk, all college dropouts who went on to achieve massive success.
And their stories, I think, are a good reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all path to success. It's about finding what works for you and being willing to take risks.
Yeah, like Steve Jobs famously audited calligraphy classes, which he later said influenced the design of Apple products.
Right. So even those seemingly unrelated learning experiences can end up having a huge impact on your life and career.
And nowadays, you can learn practically anything online, right? From coding to graphic design to business management.
Yeah, the accessibility of online learning has really opened up a whole new world of possibilities. Like, you can create your own personalized education based on your interests and goals.
So how do we navigate this new landscape? What does it actually mean for someone who's trying to decide what their next step should be after high school?
Well, I think the first step is to really define what success means to you. Like,
Mm.
what are your passions? What kind of impact do you want to make in the world? And then you can start to figure out what skills and knowledge you need to achieve those
It's
goals.
like taking ownership of your own education, right?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not just about following a predetermined path anymore. It's about being proactive and creating your own journey.
So it feels like we're moving away from this idea that college is the only path to success. But how do you measure the value of those alternative paths? Like, what makes them worthwhile?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we're kind of redefining what worthwhile even means when it comes to education. It's not just about getting that degree. It's about the skills you gain, the network you build, the experience you have along the way.
So if someone decides college isn't the right fit for them, what advice would you give them for like finding those valuable experiences elsewhere?
I would say be proactive. Treat your education like a design project. What are the skills you need for your dream career? And then figure out how you can develop those skills, whether it's through online courses or volunteering or internships, even starting your own side hustle.
I love that. An education design project that puts the power back in the individual's hands.
Exactly. It's not about following a predetermined path anymore. It's about creating your own.
So it really seems like the big takeaway here is that there's no one size fits all answer when it comes to the college question. It's about finding what aligns with your own goals and values and financial situation.
Absolutely. And it's not like a one-time decision either.
Yeah.
Your path can evolve over time. You might start with a traditional degree and then later on decide to go to trade schools or do an online program. The key is to be adaptable and, never stop learning.
This deep dive has honestly given me so much to think about. It's not just about is college worth it? It's about defining what worth it means to you and then creating an educational journey that reflects that.
I think that's a perfect way to put it. And remember, the journey doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep pushing the boundaries of what education can be.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the college debate. We hope it's given you some food for thought as you figure out your own path.
Thanks for having me.